How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 1.
Hang on. Yep, there it is. Greetings and welcome. It is Eric Erickson here across the United States, where the Dow is up 150 points right now, S&P up 15, NASDAQ up 93. Wait a second. Did you know that oil is down 10.74% right now? It's $84.59 a barrel. Have you heard that? Of course you haven't, because the American media and the Democratic Party is rooting for disaster in Iran. I can only think they want the American military wiped out in Iran so they can gloat and blame Donald Trump. The relentless negativity of the narrative about what's happening in Iran right now. Mark Penn, who was the pollster for Hillary Clinton, pointed this out. That the headlines right now are: the Iran regime is in control. Trump is under pressure to end the war. Khamenei's son, just as tough as the father. U.S. responsible for missile strike on school, by the way, which is being contested, you should know. Have you heard that we've sunk the Iranian Navy? 50 of their ships sunk. The Iranian Air Force wiped out. The Iranian military assets ruthlessly destroyed or buried under rubble. The Iranian leadership, there is internal chaos. There is a struggle happening now between the Iranian army and the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. The Khamenei machine has brought on a hereditary theocracy, which it's not supposed to do, causing turmoil within the mullahs. The progress of the war planning is unprecedented. Have you heard any of that? No. What you've heard is we killed a bunch of schoolgirls, and the media, this is the same media that said Renee Good did not hit a Border Patrol agent when she did. They're now saying it was absolutely an American missile. It's actually in dispute. Even Iranian witnesses from the ground who recorded it said that it looked to them like it was a misfired Iranian missile. The Iranian regime is being pummeled. You know what, by the way, you know what some of the spin is, what the media is believing now, is that Iran is holding back. It hasn't really thrown a punch yet. It's been pulling its punches. Any day now, they're going to launch the big guns. They're going to surprise and dazzle with displays of technology unprecedented. It's impossible that they are losing this campaign. I cannot believe what I'm watching. On CNN today, if you get the show notes, you'll see this. We put it in there. I want to read for you the opening of the CNN story about the two Islamic terrorists in New York City. I am not making this up. This is how the story opened at CNN. Two Pennsylvania teenagers crossed into New York City Saturday morning for what could have been a normal day, enjoying the city during abnormally warm weather. But in less than an hour, their lives would drastically change as the pair would be arrested for throwing homemade bombs during an anti-Muslim protest outside of Mayor Zoran Mamdani's house. Here's what we know so far. You got that? Two Pennsylvania teenagers crossed into New York City Saturday morning for what could have been a normal day, enjoying the city during abnormally warm weather. You know, by the way, I want to read for you the biography of the person who wrote that piece for CNN. This also is in the show notes today because you need to know who the person is who wrote it. The person who wrote it is Taylor Roman. Taylor Roman at CNN is a graduate of the Columbia University School of Journalism who uses they, them pronouns. And this is what Taylor Roman wrote about herself. Taylor Roman is a journalist studying at Columbia University Graduate School of Journalism. They have previously worked at KPFA Pacifica Radio, left-wing public radio, the Daily Californian, and Listen Local San Diego, writing about a range of topics from music reviews to city politics. They hold a BA in Media Studies and a BA in Gender and Women's Studies from University of California, Berkeley. They are passionate about politics, music, and investigative journalism. And she, not they, unless she's schizophrenic, wrote, two Pennsylvania teenagers crossed into New York City Saturday morning for what could have been a normal day, enjoying the city during abnormally warm weather. But in less than an hour, their lives would drastically change as the pair would be arrested for throwing homemade bombs during an anti-Muslim protest. By the way the whole opening story reads, it makes it sound like the two terrorists were throwing it at the Muslims and maybe at the mayor. No, they were Islamic terrorists. Can you imagine this they, them writing about Ted Kaczynski? Awarded a scholarship at 15 to a prestigious mathematics institute, he moved to Idaho, to the rural mountain country where warm in the cabin and cold outside, it would take a dramatic turn for his life when he was one day arrested for being the freaking Unabomber. This girl is probably going to be promoted at CNN over time, I bet. This is why the network has gotten dreadful. The only network that is allowed to have a reporter inside Iran is the one publishing this nonsense. And CNN wants you to know they maintain full editorial control over their reporter, and they said it, no doubt, at gunpoint by the Iranian authorities, which you couldn't see behind the camera. The relentless negativity of the media and the Democrats towards this operation when our men and women in uniform are exceeding all expectations. There's an entire propaganda campaign by the American Press Corps to denounce what's happening, to make what's happening terrible, to play up the president's obfuscations. You know why the president of the United States has played up obfuscations? Do you know why the president did not barnstorm the country to try to build support for this military operation? Because if he did, the Iranians would have bunkered down and hid their missile launchers. The president did not spend 2 months building the case for war so that Iran did not have time to prepare for war. He had Steve Witkoff negotiating with him up until 12 hours before we killed the Ayatollah. And the media's like, oh, we don't know what is the end game. Do you idiots think the president of the United States is going to stand there and just give you the end game for the operation? He sent like 5 or 6 signals out about what he wants, all of which are totally contradictory. And the Iranians are like, Allahu Akbar, Pakistan, blah, blah, blah. They have no idea what to do other than they're now saying there will be no negotiations. Okay, we will bomb the snot out of you. The relentless negativity of the American Press Corps when our soldiers, sailors, and airmen and Marines are doing a wonderful job. Maybe we even have special operators in the country. The president says he doesn't want to send people there. And I understand that. It probably would help to have some coordination on the ground with the rebels that we're supporting. I'm just flabbergasted. There is great success on the ground. We know that the Iranians have activated sleeper cells who may be gearing up for something. And the Democrats, they won't even fire up the Homeland Security operations. It's just wild to see this. In fact, I want to play for you some audio from MS Now. Where did I put this? Bear with me, actually. Let me jump first. I want to go to Max Boot while I find this clip, because Max Boot is a man who, for a decade, wanted to overthrow the Iranian regime. Max Boot is a man who, for years, said we needed to get rid of Iran. And listen to him on MS Now, which is operating as a propaganda network for the Iranian regime.
I think we just don't know enough about the power structure in Iran to know how things will play out, and what's true today may not be true in the near future. I think it's a fluid situation, but it's clear that other figures within the regime, like Ali Larijani and others, exercise considerable power. We'll see how much power the new supreme leader can accumulate, but whatever happens, this is clearly a rebuke of President Trump, who was claiming that he was going to select the new leader. And obviously, this is not the person that Trump would have selected. But what it indicates is that you have regime continuity and you have a hardliner who, in some ways, could very well turn out to be even more threatening than his father. Because remember, for all the terrible things that Ayatollah Khamenei, his father, did, he never pressed forward with Iran's nuclear program. But it could very well be the case that if Iran still retains their highly enriched uranium after this conflict and the capability to weaponize it, that the new Ayatollah could very well proceed to do that, because he's seen that the lack of a nuclear weapon has allowed Iran's enemies to attack it with impunity. So
this is a man who for years said you can't believe the Iranians when they say they're not working on their nuclear arsenal, that they absolutely were behind the scenes working on their nuclear arsenal. Now he's suddenly like, oh, his dad never actually did a nuke. He might. He's just completely willing to flip things around. MS Now is a propaganda network for terrorists and Iran. Listen to this. This is very important. This is Kendall Aning, who used to be with NBC proper, stayed with MS Now because he's a left-wing activist. This is his coverage of the New York situation.
And there are really two strands here, because there's no evidence that this particular attempted attack has anything to do with the war in Iran. In fact, ISIS and Iran are not on the same page ideologically. But so this incident is a reminder, though, that there are still dangerous people in the land who have pledged allegiance to ISIS. And we got really lucky here. They decided to go and mount an attack at an anti-Muslim protest in New York City, perhaps the best staffed counterterrorism organization in the United States, in the NYPD, and they used devices that didn't go off. But these were clearly, if you read this complaint, these were people who are ideologically devoted, by their own words, to ISIS, 18 and 19 years old. It's not clear whether they were self-radicalized, whether they had any outside influences. You heard the commissioner refuse to answer that question. But this is a very alarming development here at a time when the FBI has bled resources, counterterrorism resources. Dozens and dozens of FBI agents with deep counterterrorism experience have left the Bureau in the last year. Now, on this other story that you mentioned, there is a notion, there was a bulletin, according to reports, warning about a potential uptick in threats based on the Iran war, and the White House has prevented that bulletin from being issued. These are run-of-the-mill Homeland Security unclassified bulletins that go out to law enforcement. And there's a perception among a lot of people I talk to that the White House does not want to emphasize the idea that what they've done in mounting this attack on Iran has increased the terror threat at home. But that is exactly what has happened.
Notice there's no statement. This is a statement from Homeland Security, but there's no statement about the Democrats not funding Homeland Security. There's blame at the FBI for firing some agents who worked counterterrorism, but there's nothing about the Democrats who refused to fund Homeland Security at a time that sleeper cells have been activated. That there's nothing in there that would allow the viewers to know the Democrats refuse to fund Homeland Security in a time of war. It's relentlessly attacking Donald Trump. If there's a mass casualty event in the United States because of Iranian sleeper cells, they will not tell you that they came here when Joe Biden was president because of his open borders. They will not tell you they had been planning attacks all along. They will not tell you that the Democrats refused to to fund Homeland Security, they will just blame Donald Trump. The American media and the Democratic Party would rather our soldiers die and you die and our military lose in an engagement with Iran so that they can blame Donald Trump than actually imagine a successful campaign to overthrow terror masters who want us all dead already. In some parts of the country, as we get into spring break season, it is 5-hour delays to get into airports because of backups with TSA. In New Orleans, Louisiana, the lines to go through TSA extend all the way to the parking garage. In other parts of the country, there are 5-hour delays. In New Orleans, it's about a 3-hour delay. In some parts of the country, blessedly, it's not that bad right now, but TSA agents are not getting paid because Democrats refuse to fund the Department of Homeland Security. They are waiting for a terror attack in the United States so that they can blame Donald Trump. But it's them who are refusing to fund the Department of Homeland Security. It is the Democrats refusing to fund TSA, the Coast Guard, FEMA, and the rest of Homeland Security because they want changes to Immigration and Border Patrol, the only parts of Homeland Security that are fully funded through 2028. And of course, you know and I know the American Press Corps, the moment Americans are killed because of a terror attack, they will blame Donald Trump for it, for provoking Iranians, as opposed to the fact that Joe Biden and the Democrats left the border wide open for sleeper cells to come into this country, set up shop and wait, and then decided to defund Homeland Security so the government can't actually do the job it needs to do to protect us. The Democrats want Americans dead at this point is the only thing I can conclude because they think it'll help them in November in the midterms to be able to blame Donald Trump for dead Americans because the Democrats let sleeper cells cross the border when Joe Biden was president, denying the border was even open, let them set up shop, take root, and then won't fund Homeland Security. And the press will not hold the Democrats accountable because the press is on their side. Now, Incogni is on your side, INCOGNI. I was doxxed. My family actually got swatted. We had someone show up at our house. So we had police actually surround our house, including the SWAT team, because someone called them claiming to be me. They found my information online. I've had people find my kids' information online tied to me through data brokers. Incogni sends takedown notices to the data brokers. It makes it very hard for you to be found online for spammers, hackers, malicious people, and others to target you. If you go to incogni.com/Eric, you can take up to 60% off. A great deal with them. They work behind the scenes day and night to get your information taken offline. Incogni is spelled INCOGNI. Don't think your information's not there. If you got a driver's license, there are 35 states that sell your information when you get your driver's license to these data brokers who put it online, who buy your credit card statements, which are available. They can layer them over, build psychographic marketing profiles for you. The hackers can come for you, the spammers, the targeters, the scammers, you name it. Incogni protects you online. Incogni.com/Eric. Incogni.com/Eric. Be private with Incogni. Hello, welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, I would be very, very happy to have you. Don't forget, if you text the word donate to 33777, you can help the Jason Hughes family. That is the teacher who was tragically and accidentally run over by some of his students. I just one word for you guys and a thank you on behalf of the family there. The generosity that you guys have shown in both the generosity of people in his community and the people who listen to this program. I really, really, really just I can't thank you enough. He's the fundraiser. I woke up this morning and it was something like $400,000, and I just really tremendously want to appreciate you guys. It just a wonderful, wonderful just kindness that you guys have shown that family. I'm overwhelmed by your generosity, and I appreciate you so much for doing this. Thank you. You can text donate to 33777 to get that. He's got a wife and 2 kids left behind, and it just the whole community has turned out, and it's you guys turned out just the generosity overwhelming. So thank you very much. Cannot thank you enough for what you guys have done. Now, we got to move on to other stuff because I want to talk about the war planning effort and the president's mixed messages. The president is getting, of course, attacked as the media loves to attack him for his supposed mixed messages, unclear insight. He said maybe the war is almost over, maybe it's not, maybe he wants a complete and total surrender, maybe not. The president of the United States is, well, sometimes articulate and sometimes not. There was a piece of the Wall Street Journal. It's going to aggravate some of you. I know it's Gerard Baker, who is the editor at large for the Wall Street Journal. But let me read this for you so you understand the frustration. It was said of Winston Churchill that he mobilized the English language and sent it into battle. Donald Trump's trick with the mother tongue is to douse it in gasoline, set it on fire, and drop it in a dumpster in the middle of his own parade ground. Whatever you think of the wisdom or efficacy of the president's policies, their effectiveness is almost always vitiated by an inability to articulate and communicate goals in a way that helps make them achievable. The U.S. war on Iran is a near-perfect microcosm of the president's mismanagement. Words matter. They don't merely persuade and inspire. They give meaning and shape to abstract ideas and values. They are the unction by which mere deeds become noble. But this is about more than the importance of the president's words. It's about the entire effect and style of this administration's leadership. The form that attends the substance of governing is about a leader's ability to represent to ourselves and the world the kind of people we are and what we want to be. And this is where the president fails. We're 9 days into an incredibly successful operation that no one believed would be successful even to where it is. The president of the United States has taken out Nicolas Maduro. Political prisoners are being released even as I speak from Venezuela. They have stopped the Venezuelans and the Iranians from sending oil to Cuba. The Cuban government is now on the verge of collapse. For the first time in decades, Cubans have taken to the streets to protest the communist regime there. The president of the United States is realigning the world in our favor. Donald Trump is not the president I would want. He's crass. He's boorish. He doesn't have great character, if you're willing to acknowledge it. Some of you get very defensive when I say these things, but they're all true and you know it. He's not necessarily the president I want, but he seems to be the man we need right now to do the things that other presidents said they wanted to do and never did. I understand that there is a class of people on the right that simply can't embrace even the good from the Trump presidency because he's not their style, he's not their taste, he's not their cup of tea. Donald Trump's not my cup of tea. But I am certainly enjoying watching him wallop the Iranians and destabilize Venezuela. You know, the Chinese on a daily basis send flights to encircle Taiwan. They send their military jets to fly laps around Taiwan to remind the Taiwanese that they are there and the time is coming soon when China will invade. The Chinese have had to stop those flights because the Chinese don't have the oil and gas to fill up their military aircraft right now because of what's happening in Iran. There are all sorts of media articles about how the Russians are winning the war in Ukraine right now, despite losing territory, because gas prices have gone up so much. It's helping the Russians. Except the Russians have now lost a key weapons supplier for the Ukraine battlefield. It was Iran that was supplying weapons to Putin, and part of those weapons were made in Venezuela. Iran's munitions factories in Venezuela are now gone. We bombed them on the way out after taking out Maduro. Iran's munitions factories in Iran are now gone because we bombed them in Iran. There have been random sites bombed in Iran over the last 72 hours. Now, you wonder, Erickson, why focus on these random sites? Iran is a nation the size of Alaska. For perspective, because sometimes it's hard when you picture it on the map, you can take the state of Texas, which is the largest of the continental United States, and you could place 4 Texases inside Alaska. That's how big Alaska is. Alaska is 4 times the size of Texas. It's massive. And that's the landmass of Iran. And Iran spread its military capabilities out across that landmass. And Iran is an extremely mountainous nation. So not only are their military assets hidden in caves and in cities, they're spread out around a landmass the size of Alaska. And what's so notable is that the Israelis and the Americans are now hitting random sites in Iran that aren't on the map as of geostrategic importance. These are not their military bases. These are not their oil refineries. These are not their weapons caches. These are not their weapons storehouses. These are not palaces of the mullahs. These are not battlefield training grounds. These are none of those things, and yet we're targeting them. And that tells me and others who've paid attention that we have actually found sites in Iran that are off the map and not known to the public, and yet are of strategic importance to the Iranians, and we found them and we're destroying them. We're not getting credit. They're not getting credit. The administration is not getting credit for these random explosions in random parts of Iran. Yet what it tells me is that our intelligence, primarily the Israeli intelligence, is superior to what anyone thought they had. The President of the United States does not come out and talk like a President of the United States that we've had before. Now, the prior President of the United States came out and talked about turtles. He made no sense. The prior President of the United States in mid-sentence could wander off and sniff a little girl's hair and grab a little boy's butt and forget his train of thought and then talk about turtles. And the media would tell us everything was fine. Pay no attention to what he's saying. Just understand that he understands what he's talking about. And they would give him a pass. This president comes out and says, well, the war effort's going fine. We're ahead of schedule. We may end it tomorrow. We may end it next week. We may end it 5 years from now. We may end it today. I want total and absolute surrender from the Iranians. I want unconditional surrender from the Iranians. I want new leadership. I want to be in charge of the leadership. I don't know who I want, but I want someone who's not them. And they're like, oh, my gosh, such mixed signals. I mean, for the girls in the press corps to be complaining about someone sending mixed signals, ladies, come on, you're professionals. The President of the United States is not going to stand there and say, well, tomorrow we're going to strike these 5 locations and then we're going to pressure the Iranians to surrender. They're not going to do that. As I said earlier, the president didn't build up a pool of goodwill to invade Iran because he knew if he did it, the Iranians would hide their weapons, they would bunker down, and they would prepare, and they would have months to prepare. So the president of the United States sent Steve Witkoff and his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, to negotiate with the Iranians as the Tomahawk missiles were in the air. He obfuscated, and we caught them with their pants down, and we killed their top leadership. And for some reason, the American press corps and the Democrats are like, well, I mean, it's been 9 days. We haven't won. This is a waste of missiles. This is a waste of resources. This is a disaster. We should come home. They're not going to give away the time plan. They're not going to give away what we intend to do. Here's Pete Hegseth.
On day 10 of Operation Epic Fury, we are winning with an overwhelming and unrelenting focus on our objectives, which are the same as the day I gave my first briefing here on Operation Epic Fury. They're straightforward, and we are executing them with ruthless precision. 1, destroy their missile stockpiles, their missile launchers, and their defense industrial base. Missiles and their ability to make them. 2, destroy their navy. And 3, permanently deny Iran nuclear weapons forever. It's a laser-focused, maximum authority mission delivered with overwhelming and unrelenting precision. No hesitation, no half measures. As President Trump declared yesterday, we're crushing the enemy in an overwhelming display of technical skill and military force. We will not relent until the enemy is totally and decisively defeated. But we do so on our timeline and at our choosing.
Our timeline, our choosing, not theirs. And the media wants to hurry this up along because they are in blame Donald Trump mode. This is the Prime Minister of Qatar. Just listen to this.
This is a big sense of betrayal. This is the second time. That's why it's also like for us, it's been something really significant to see the attack, which was showing that being pre-planned. Like once the war started, just maybe an hour after the start of the war, Qatar and the other Gulf countries being attacked right away. And all of us before this war and repeatedly we've been saying and repeating that we are not going to take part of any attacks or any wars against our neighbors. We would like to see a peaceful neighborhood. We were helping Iran and the United States in reaching diplomatic solutions. But this miscalculation by the Iranians to attack the Gulf countries has destroyed everything.
Iran has destroyed everything. They miscalculated. Qatar is allied with Israel that only last year bombed Qatar. The Saudis are allied with Qatar, and they don't like each other, and they're all allied with Israel right now to destabilize the regime. And so you know what the Western media is doing? The Western media is pushing Iranian propaganda and Chinese propaganda and Russian propaganda to make it look like this is a disaster. We are 9 days into a campaign, 9 days in, and the media and the Democrats have declared it a disaster, that the Iranians are beating us. We've destroyed their Navy. We've destroyed their Air Force. We've taken out one Ayatollah. We've possibly taken out the current Ayatollah. They trotted out a cardboard cutout. I'm not making that up, a cardboard cutout of the current Ayatollah to celebrate his inauguration as the Ayatollah, and nobody knows where he is. Rumor has it he's in a coma from an attack on him. It's just, it is asinine to expect that you're going to get the president to come out there and tell you what his 9-point plan for Iran is right now when we're 9 days in, bombing key positions to render them unable to make nuclear weapons or to be a threat to their neighbors who are now all on the side of the Jews. This looks pretty successful to me right now. The measure of whether or not you think it's successful or not is defined by how much you hate Donald Trump. And if you passionately hate the man, you've decided it's a disaster, and you're betting against the greatest military on the planet. This hour of the program is brought to you by Van Allen Golf, ALLEN. Check them out on Instagram at Van Allen Golf, or go to vanallengolf.com, or text golf to 33777. If you or someone you loves golf, you will love their putter. Their amazing golf technology. They started out making fine precision milled guns, and now they make golf equipment as well, from True Precision to Van Allen Golf. I love the guys involved, and man, do I love their putter. Text golf to 33777. Y'all, I gotta just be straight with you. In 2028, I know we're a little ways off, but in 2028, I will vote for whoever promises to cut down and burn every Bradford pear in America. They are the most noxious trees. They stink. Do you know in Japan, they refer to them in the slang as, a bodily fluid produced by men, a word I don't really want to say on air. I've never smelled that to know what it smells like, but that's the slang for these nasty trees in Japan. And I learned last night from my friend Casey Maddox. You know who pioneered bringing the Bradford pear to the United States? The worst president ever. No, not Jimmy Carter. No, not Joe Biden. No. Woodrow Wilson. The man who segregated the American military, was a Princeton academic who was a deeply, deeply unrepentant racist who the Democrats love, is the man who foisted the Bradford pear on us. And I will support any presidential candidate in 2028 who promises to chop them all down and burn them. Friends don't let friends plant Bradford pears. They're disgusting. Now, Swiss America, they are a company you need to check out at SwissAmerica.com/Eric. There's actually legislation making its way through the Georgia legislature here that would allow people to use gold and silver as legal currency, as legal tender. Fascinating legislation. My buddy Marty Harbin is authoring it. 5 states have done it. Gold and silver are taken off not just as investments, but as legal tender in the country. And Swiss America is the trusted leader in this country for precious metals. They want to give you their secret war on cash report, which you can also get at SwissAmerica.com/Eric. Remember, it's ERICK. Or you can get all the news and information you need. They've got a News and Insights tab on their website, and they got a great podcast. You can find all of the links at SwissAmerica.com/Eric. SwissAmerica.com/ERICK. Get their free report on the secret war on cash. Get their news and insights on gold and silver, and consider talking to them about a precious metals IRA, among other things. SwissAmerica.com/Eric. SwissAmerica.com/ERICK.